couldn't get to sleep because it was so hot. So like that's literally kind of why I uploaded it, because the night before I had a total not being able to get to sleep at all. Like it was like 4 o'clock when I was actually able to get sleep, because I was just like up and down, and it reached a point. I always have this whenever I can't get to sleep. I reach a point where I get hungry, because obviously, you know, when you're awake, you're kind of just slowly getting increasingly hungry. So you always know that I've got some kind of next level insomnia when I have to get up and get food, because I reach a point where it's like I'm like, okay, now I'm hungry, so I'm definitely not going to be able to sleep now because I'm thinking about how hungry I am. So I got up and got some Weetabix, and like I had to resort to just. Do you ever get so hot that you kind of have to wedge your back against the wall? I mean, is your bed against the wall?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, my bed's against the wall, and that's like sometimes I reach a point where I'm just so hot that I think, okay, I've just got to put my back against the wall, because at least the wall will have a nice coolness to cool me down.
So this is interesting, Michael, because last night for me it wasn't that hot.
I mean,
there must be a serious difference.
Yeah, well, I was kind of looking into. I don't want to sound like I'm being too smart, because when I say looking into, I mean I clicked on a video that was posted on Reddit, why it's been so hot recently, and apparently, there's like a specific. So obviously, you know, the Gulf Stream.
Yeah.
Something about the Gulf Stream. Basically, the idea is if you're below the Gulf Stream right now, it's really hot. But apparently, for the people above the Gulf Stream, it's actually unseasonably cold. So in Canada and Iceland and those kind of places, it's really cold. I don't know. Yeah, is it hot there yet? I mean, is it hot there now?
No, it's been like 25 degrees today, and last night it was
like 12 degrees. Tell you what the temperature is here? Okay. Right.
So, yeah.
All right. This has been the weather here. Actually, you know what? That doesn't seem too bad. That's upsetting me. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So the high today was 31. And
what, in Milton Keynes?
Yeah, Milton Keynes.
Wow. So that's like 6 degrees higher than here.
It won't let me go back. Why won't it let? To be honest with you, I don't really know how this works. But
basically, it's been very hot. Like,
yes. Yeah. That's all that matters. And it's annoying me.
Yeah.
So I guess that counts as a cold intro. Although did I already do my cold intro? But it's really hot joke. Yeah, I envy you.
You should leave that in so people understand.
Yeah, that's good.
You should envy me.
Back up, chump, you know Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get with the hoods, fatigues, with the boots, with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy trees. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox, grip the clock. When I walk down the crowded blocks, just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out, blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hola y bienvenidos a Podcast de Selecto y Reflecto. Or
is that right?
No, Selecto y Reflecto isn't right. The first bit was right. The actual correct one, I think, is like You see, it doesn't sound right. It sounds like in a way, Selecto y Reflecto sounds more right than what it actually is. What it actually is like Seleccionar Reflejena, something like that. It's like, well, you know, I mean, it's like you're putting too much into it. It almost sounds like it's a joke at that point. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast, where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema. I realize I should stop saying, like, relatively recently is the opposite of what I should be saying. Because what I should be, like, it doesn't, the things we're looking at don't have to be relatively recently. All that really matters is that they're not that recent. So it's kind of like how Americans say, like, I could care less. And it's like, actually what they should be saying is they couldn't care less. But yeah, so really I should be saying we look at films that have come out not very recently. But who cares? We're sticking with it. It's just idiosyncratic. Is that a thing, Luke? Anyway, and see if they still hold up upon closer inspection. This week we are looking at Goal, and of course we're doing this to celebrate the start of the to commemorate and mourn the start of the new football season. And I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luke. And Luke, why don't you tell us a little bit about Goal!
Yes, certainly, Michael. It's good that you pointed out it has an exclamation mark after the title. It's goal, like that. That's how you say it.
It's also
Like
sorry. It's also
Alan
technically
Partridge says it.
goal exclamation mark. The dream begins, and there are two
That's
sequels.
just on the post. Yes. Have you seen that Alan Partridge thing, by the way, Michael?
That Alan Partridge thing.
Where he shouts "goal" like that.
You know what,
You
Luke?
should put it in.
So if,
You should put it in right
I'll
now.
put it in right now.
Go!
I can imagine it, and it's quite funny in my head. But I don't think I've seen it. I feel like if I had seen it, I'd remember it. But the weird thing is, it's also one of those things where, like, you mention it, and I imagine what it would be like, and then because I've imagined what it would be like, I kind of, like, have a memory of it. A memory of my imagination. Anyway, Luke, tell us the thing about it.
So, Goal, also known as Goal: The Dream Begins, in the United States, is a 2005 sports drama film directed by Danny Cannon and starring Kuno Becker as Santiago Munez. Screenplay was by Dick Clement, Ian LaFrancis, Mike Jeffries, and Butch Cart. Stars, as we said, Kuno Becker, Alessandro Nivola, Marcel Lurs, and Stephen Dillon. Was released on the 30th of September 2005 in the United Kingdom, so almost 13 years ago, and on the 12th of May 2006 in the United States. Do you want to have a guess at the budget, Michael?
Yeah, I do, Luke. I would. But let's just go for. This is a weird one. Okay, here's my first thoughts. Just one thing. I think that there are like hardly any of these actors seem to be very well known to me. So I'm going to go for 30 million.
You're very close. It's 33 million.
Well, that's good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. What about the box office?
See, this is weird because, to be honest, okay, I hadn't heard of this film. You were like, let's review the film Goal. And apparently, I'm right in saying you watched this at school? Like, this was one of... Cause...
Oh, no, not
Oh, really?
school.
Okay. So...
Just on my own. Yeah.
Oh, just on your own. On Nerd.
Well, with my brother as well.
Because I was thinking, like, there are two films I've seen at school that are both to do with football. One of which is Bend It Like Beckham. And the other one, I forget what it's called, but the plot is a kid gets a pair of magical trainers that make him really good at football. And at the end of it, it's actually very funny in hindsight because it was made, I don't know, possibly in the early 2000s, maybe even the late 90s. But he supports Manchester City. And at the end of it, the kind of guy who's in charge of Man United says, we'd like to offer you a kind of contract at Man United. And he kind of says, no, I want to play for Manchester City. And it's like supposed to be kind of a magic moment because obviously at the time Man City wasn't as good of a team. So it kind of made him seem like, he's chosen the team that his heart lies with rather than the team that will give him, more glory and more money. But now, because things have changed, saying like, no, I want to play for Man City. Everyone's like, all right, you dickhead. Okay.
Yeah, it was like, oh, right, you like human rights violations, do you? Is that what you like?
So yeah, but those are the two films I've seen, and I've never really heard of this film. Have you seen the two sequels?
I have seen the second sequel. I have not seen the third sequel, and I just looked at the plot, actually. Well, not the third sequel. I haven't seen the third movie, and I looked at the plot, and it was really bad. So I'm glad I haven't seen it, because it looks or sounds awful.
Yes.
Second movie, I'd say, I haven't seen it in a while. Obviously, I saw these movies when I was a kid, back in 2005, 2007. That's when they both came out, and genuinely don't really remember.
So you saw them at the cinema?
Movie.
Did you see them?
No, on DVD.
Okay,
yeah, DVD.
Just wondering.
Like they were popular. Like I know on Twitter sometimes, among football Twitter at least, people talk about Santiago Munez, and there was a player called Javier Hernandez, or nicknamed Chicharito.
Yeah.
Who obviously plays for Mexico, who actually went to Manchester United and then to Real Madrid. So that's what Santiago Munez does in the second movie. He goes to Real Madrid.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's like he moves from Mexico or North America to an English club, then to Real Madrid, which is what Javier Hernandez did.
Well done, Mr. Chicharito.
That on football Twitter was compared to Santiago Munez. So it is a movie that is popular among football fans of my age, I'd imagine.
It was so weird that he had Chicharito on the back of his shirt, but they never called him that. At least that was my recollection of it. You're going to contradict me, Luke? Okay, you called him Chicharito.
I had it shirt Chicharito.
You know what, Luke? Okay, I
yeah.
get that you can pronounce his name properly, but to me he'll always be Chikorita, because it's easier, not Chicharito.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about Javier
So
Hernandez.
what we've learned from that is that I think the box office was 200 million, no, 140.
It was 27.6.
I don't know, to be honest, I think it's because we've actually been reviewing so many films that people, care about, so I wasn't prepared for these small numbers.
Yeah, so I think this movie, interestingly, here we go. It was made, this movie, with full cooperation from FIFA, which is one of the reasons why actual teams and players are used throughout the film. The $50 million deal that was struck between the producers and Adidas was, at the time, and still is, the biggest ever between a corporate brand and film production. So that's interesting that, obviously the movie did not make a profit just on sales in the box office, but that $50 million deal that Adidas must have given the producers, that explains the sequel, basically.
It's the old Adam Sandler trick.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the financing behind this movie. That's the thing, there was a lot of Adidas stuff. Obviously, he plays for a team in Newcastle that's sponsored by Adidas. All the footballs used are Adidas footballs. Get onto that in a bit. But yeah, there's still Nike footballs and shirts with he plays against, for example, Liverpool in the final game. They're sponsored by Reebok, or their shirts are made by Reebok. So yeah, I don't know really why Adidas would have paid $50 million for that, but whatever.
Yeah, idiots. Anyway, what do we say now? Oh, did you like this film, Luke?
I did like this film, Michael. Did you?
I had mixed feelings about this film. So I would kind of say I would give this a very, very mixed review. I don't know if I could say I liked it, but I don't know if I could say I disliked it either.
Yes. So obviously I'll just state the plot. It's about a young footballer called Santiago Munez who's got a rough background, who was offered the chance of trial with one of England's top association football clubs.
I saw that.
Rather than just Newcastle. Obviously, he comes from Los Angeles, gets on a plane, goes to Newcastle, isn't successful with his first trial, but eventually manages to make the reserve team, and eventually the first team, and then eventually scores a winning goal that sends Newcastle through to the Champions League final. Oh, so not the Champions League final, just the Champions League, not the Champions League final. Just slow down on that.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously, Michael, it's time of the podcast where we discuss nitpicks. How many do you have?
Yeah, well, you know what, Luke? I've actually come up with a new and innovative idea. I'm going to sit on my bed. See what I'm going to do? Oh, this is so much better. Alright, I think
Make
I
sure
probably
you
just
don't
got
mess up
quieter.
the audio, though.
Can you hear me, Luke?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, alright, good. Everything's sorted. Fantastic.
Are you
and
sure this won't mess up the audio?
I don't think it would. Well, basically, the thing is, okay, so my bed is right next to my desk. It just means I'm coming at it from a different angle.
Oh, right, okay.
Anyway, so I have 1, 2... Okay, I've actually got 5. No, 6. So one of them's a joke, though. Maybe 2 of them are a joke.
Okay.
But, that's
Well,
fine.
I've
Some
only
are
got
jokes.
4,
Alright, you go first.
so
Then
I'll go first. So, my first nitpick is as follows. So, basically, I said before that all the footballs used are Adidas footballs, apart from the Premier League, when Santiago Munez is playing in the Premier League. Then the footballs which are used are Nike footballs, which obviously would be the case back in 2004, 2005. But Newcastle, when they're just training around, but when they're just training, kicking a ball around in practice, they're actually using Champions League balls. The white balls with the stars on them. Even though Newcastle that season weren't in the Champions League. So obviously it's because Adidas want them to use balls to practice with. So it's like, oh yeah, let's let Newcastle train with some Adidas balls, which obviously would never happen because they're not in the Champions League, and you want to train with the balls that you use in the league every week, so you're more acclimatized to them. So yeah, that's a little one. Next up is the fact that Gavin Harris, who of course is one of the fictional characters in this movie, is taking penalties ahead of Alan Shearer. There is no way on God's green earth that if Newcastle got a penalty and Alan Shearer was on the pitch, especially in that season, he would not be taking it. That is Alan Shearer's to take, and there is absolutely no way that this guy who was signed in January would be taking penalties over Alan Shearer. And of course, he did in the Fulham game. So yeah, that's my second one. Next up it's a nitpick, but again, I don't think anybody making this movie could have helped it. So Newcastle beat Liverpool in the final game of the season, which I fully endorse. However, of course, this knocks Liverpool out of the race for the Champions League. They're not actually going to get in the Champions League, and Newcastle do go through and would be playing in the Champions League the following season. However, Liverpool actually won the Champions League that year in 2005. So, obviously, it's kind of weird that the team that Newcastle beat so triumphantly actually went on to have a better season than Newcastle. They would have literally played 3 days later if that was the last game of the season. 3 days later, Liverpool win the Champions League. And obviously, they qualified for the Champions League next season anyway because they won it. So, yeah. Obviously, you can't help that if you're making the movie ahead of time. But yeah, I just thought the ending narrative wasn't really that good considering what happened actually in that season regarding Liverpool. And obviously, last up, the view from Santiago Muniz's house in LA is ridiculous. You can see all the skyscrapers through his bedroom window. It's what the fuck? It's like that scene in Ratatouille when the guy's in this shitty apartment that overlooks the Eiffel Tower and everything.
Yeah.
It's awful. So there you go. Those are my 4 nitpicks.
Wow. None of those are mine, I don't think. So basically, these are mine. Number 1, his dad is skeptical that an impoverished boy could become successful through international football. And it's the way he says it just seemed really stupid to me. It's kind of like you're just a small street rat. You are a poor person. Nobody has ever become successful through football being they're poor. And it's hold on a minute. Football's not this kind of thing where only incredibly rich, privileged people succeed.
Yeah, it's not rowing, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So he's just his argument is literally you're poor, therefore don't believe in your dreams. But it's being an international footballer or not international footballer, but as a professional footballer is the most achievable high ranking dream for an impoverished kid there is. It would be much more realistic if he was I want to be a lawyer.
Or a doctor, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you can't do that. But yeah, being football, he should be oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. My other one, Harris, who was of course played by Billy from JP3. Hashtag Alan.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I
that's
noticed
great.
these things. He has, so I think he had a noticeably fake English accent. And he's not, because at first I was thinking, well, maybe he just did, I was thinking, oh, is he English? Because his accent sounds kind of off. And yeah, like I say, sometimes I think to myself,
so he's not
maybe,
English?
Yeah, he's not English.
Oh.
So sometimes I think to myself, well, maybe, yeah, it was a bit just sounded a bit ale. No, not ale, but oh, what? Governor and the fish and chips, me laddie, apples and pears?
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't think it was bad.
Well, I don't know. See, I mean, to be honest, there's a part of me that does think maybe it was just because I suspected he wasn't English, I knew he'd put on accent, so I don't know. I mean, it's worth noting, Luke, that as you can tell, that regional accent of his is exactly the same as my regional accent. So, having grown up hearing that accent, it is entirely possible that I am more in tune to the thingies. Maybe if some American did a reasonably good Mancunian accent, which I'll say yours is, even though we all know your accent is actually a Scouser accent.
Wow.
We all know that, because you're actually a Scouser. But yeah, if someone did a standard Mancunian accent, then there's probably a decent chance that I wouldn't notice it was bad, but you might. So let's just assume I'm right, because I'm from Southeast, and that's where he's from. Well, in the narrative of the film, and it sounded a bit weird for me. Shows up in Newcastle, actually goes to Newcastle, is so stupid. Because I was thinking to myself, okay.
No, he doesn't.
What?
Michael, he doesn't.
Explain, Luke.
He goes to a bar in Los Angeles.
No, but okay, no, that doesn't work though, because why are there so many Geordies there?
Because there's loads of people from all around the world who go to Los Angeles.
Okay, you know what, Luke? So that
There
makes
was
sense.
there was an established Sorry, there was an establishing shot before he went into the bar.
You know what, Luke?
How did you not work that one out?
Well, to be honest, it's because I was thinking about, like, okay, here's the thing. So I would not think of most Geordies as being very well travelled.
Wow.
So let's just say that I was very
Southern racism.
thrown by the idea that there would be a bar in Los Angeles, a place that could not be farther away from Newcastle in terms of ambiance and general nature, filled with Geordies. Very unbelievable.
So did you actually genuinely think he was in Newcastle?
I genuinely thought he'd gone to Newcastle.
Wow, that is an indictment on your intelligence, Michael.
No, it's not. It's an indictment on the film for assuming that the people from Newcastle.
Shot.
Yeah, no, that's why I was really confused. I was like, hold on a minute. They just had an establishing shot in LA, and now he's gone to this Newcastle bar filled with Newcastle people.
Michael,
why has he gone all the way to Newcastle?
His father flew all the way to Newcastle. Oh my god, that is. I did not think. Wow, that is something, Michael. That is something. Do you want to continue?
Anyway, so this one, to be honest, Luke, it might be that I've misunderstood the film on this next one. If you can imagine such a thing, if you can imagine me misunderstanding the film, if you can just get your head around that concept. So the guy says that Newcastle and Liverpool are main rivals. Now, I'm hoping that he was saying that because they're not main rivals, are they?
They are.
Why?
What they are. Well, the thing is, Newcastle were very good in the 1990s, along with Liverpool, because Liverpool are basically always like a top four side, and Newcastle were a top four side in the 1990s. And obviously Man United were the best team in that era, but like Liverpool and Newcastle probably the second best and the third best, especially in the late 90s. So there was a great game actually. It was one of the all-time best Premier League games where Liverpool beat Newcastle 4-3. There used to be some great matches between the two sides. And so, yeah, I can understand Liverpool and Newcastle being quote-unquote rivals.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know, because I was just thinking to myself, Sunderland, Everton, Man United, they're all rivals. Well, they're not rivals with each other. Anyway,
nowadays, Michael, you would be correct. There's not much of a rivalry since Newcastle have been relegated twice since this movie's release, and Liverpool, of course, have maintained their top four position in the Premier League almost every year.
Yeah, and my final one, Luke, and I think this one is pretty serious indictment of the film. That one of the people, I forget who it was, says he's probably watching you right now in reference to the guy's dad. But of course, his dad was a Catholic, so he'd actually be with his father, the devil.
Wait, what?
Well, Nunez's dad is dead, of course, and the coach says he's probably up in heaven watching you right now. And I'm saying, well, obviously not.
It's a Christian thing.
Because he's a Catholic, and therefore he would, in fact, be in hell. Speaking of which, Luke, did you hear that the Catholic Church broke over the weekend?
No, I mean, I don't follow Christian news like yourself.
Okay, so basically, Pope Francis said that the death penalty is always immoral, and he wrote that as official Catholic doctrine. And the problem with that is that previous Catholic doctrine said that the death penalty is sometimes moral. And that means...
So what's the issue if you just change the doctrine?
No, because, okay, here's the problem. The Catholic Church teaches that it's perfect when it comes to interpreting scripture. So, it's kind of like what they basically
change
said.
Their minds.
Well, yeah, but the thing is basically there's going to have to be a Vatican III. As we all know, in the 1960s, I hope I'm right about that, there was a thing called Vatican II, where the Vatican basically had to change loads of their doctrines to kind of make it all make more sense. And they're probably going to have to do a Vatican III now, because according to the official rules of the church, what just happened can't really happen. And everyone's really upset about it. Well, mostly Catholics.
Yeah, when you see it, when you say everyone.
Yeah, but I still think it's funny. And I thought, what a great opportunity to bring it up. Because...
I'm seeing my grandparents next week, maybe. And they're big Catholics. So maybe I'll mention that to them and see what they think about the whole situation. Maybe they've not even heard of it.
Well. Anyway, so those are all of mine. And now we turn to the most important thing. Plot?
Plot? Yeah, so the plot. As mentioned before, it's about a young man, Santiago Munez, who has a dream to be a professional footballer. Not necessarily for Newcastle, just for any decent team. And Glenn Foy, a former scout, spots Santiago playing football in Los Angeles and is like, hey, guess what? This guy could be decent. Now, the thing is, I imagine you can see a lot of players as good as Santiago Nunez, like just in the park in Los Angeles or in any other city, and basically anywhere in the world, like just taking players on. And to go from there to like, this guy could perhaps play for Newcastle United, one of the best football teams in Europe. Well, at the time they were anyway. It's a pretty big leap. But yeah, whatever. He's a former scout, and he said, he dazzled him or whatever. So yeah, there you go. Santiago Nunez gets to become a professional footballer. Yeah, what did you think of the plot, Michael?
Well, basically, the plot, there were like two things that I kind of picked up on, one good and one kind of bad, and that's why I said I'm in two minds about it. The first thing is there was a lot of kind of like feel-good stuff in this film, like kind of wanted to make you feel the feels, he's going to achieve his dream, and I kind of enjoyed that. Like I was like, okay, this film, I'm with this film, I'm kind of happy. But then there was this other stuff which I wasn't fully behind, and that was this film seemed to have like 1 billion attempts at melodrama in it, but like it got to a point where I was just like, okay, so they just keep like throwing more onto it. So I was like, oh, his dad doesn't want him to be a footballer, and he's got asthma, and oh wait, is he gonna, he's sleeping around with all these women. Well, he's not sleeping around with them, but fooling around with all these women, and that's bad too. And now he's this guy's also in trouble, and then his dad's got a heart attack, and it was kind of like, so, and I was thinking, like, come on, just pick one.
Well, that's the thing, like, yeah, maybe they should have stuck with one and run with it, instead of like having all these little dramas, because the asthma thing gets solved like that, like it clicks like that.
It was a bit like, it was like the screenwriter was just thinking like, oh, we need conflict, but then he couldn't be bothered to actually, like, it was like the conflict was added in after the fact, so they wrote the story and they're like, okay, we need conflict, but then because of the conflict, it couldn't be big enough to actually, really impact the story too much. So it was like, we'll just have loads of little conflicts, just do.
Well, no, that's the thing, like, some of the conflicts are actually big enough to impact the story, because he doesn't play well in the reserve game.
Yeah, you are right,
and then the coach is like, sorry son, you gotta go, you're not good enough.
Like, that did feel like really dumb.
Yeah, for the English game. It's like, okay, there's, like, if I had just watched this kid perform, like, day in, day out, and then suddenly he's, like, struggling to run, I'd be like, right, this has gotta be something wrong with his fitness, or, he must be injured. Like, I won't think, oh, this is how he is normally, because I've just seen him, like, day in, day out. But the whole asthma thing, I don't know why he didn't tell, the coach right then he had asthma. Like, it's a simple explanation.
Would you say that having asthma is kind of like makes you less of a human being, though, in some ways?
Are you saying this because you know I have asthma?
Yes, I do know. Well, I've never seen you. Oh, actually, I think I have once seen you do your old inhaler, take a hit on the old breath bomb.
Yeah, so like when I watched this movie as a kid, I was like, wait, is there something wrong with having asthma? Should I hide it from people?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that big a deal, to be honest, but I didn't have asthma that bad. Like, it's...
Yeah, you don't...
I'm usually okay. I usually don't need I hardly ever need my inhaler. But yeah, I don't know why Santiago just doesn't tell his coach that, yeah, I've got asthma. The coach will go, oh, right, well, that makes sense. And, he's like, I didn't bring it today, because I just forgot, whatever. You can say that. He's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, that explains things. Right?
But, yeah, it's so like
drama and everything.
It's such a non-conflict. And I guess that was kind of one of the things I was thinking. Like, it was
that's a big issue.
Yeah, everything the film did to kind of try and add conflict just seemed like a bit of a distraction.
Yeah, because
that was
the manager. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say that was my number one criticism as well.
Yes. So yeah, it's a big issue as well for me. The manager afterwards, when he's having the meeting with Gavin Harris and Nunez, is just like, oh yeah, we can get you acupuncture or treatments or injections or whatever. It's okay, you'll be fine. Yeah, it's just so basically Santiago Nunez was too dumb to know that this problem could be fixed easily, and that's where the drama originates from.
I bet he thought his dad would come to Newcastle too.
Yeah, what an idiot. So that's the thing, like, some of these melodramas do actually affect the plot, and so, like, the manager keeps having to give chances to this guy who's basically a nobody, because he keeps failing, so the suspense has to the movie has to keep the suspense up of will he make it, won't he make it, and I think the manager gives him about 3 chances, which, given how he's performed in like training sessions and in the reserve game, I don't know any manager who'd do that. Like, this guy is putting a lot of attention on this like reserve team player. I can't imagine any manager actually giving this guy more than 1 chance. It's like, no, you had your chance. Like, I've got a lot of stuff to focus on. The particularly egregious example of this was when Santiago's first trial doesn't go so well. The manager isn't interested in him. He doesn't think he's that good. And then Glenn Foy, scout, goes and says, give him a month's trial, And the manager just accepts it, like, okay, yeah, you can have a month's trial.
Yeah.
Like, you've gone from not being in the team to, oh yeah, you can have a month's trial.
I didn't get, because, so I thought one aspect of the kind of way they handled that was sort of clever, which is, I guess the point is that they don't get much rain in LA, or at least it's not as much.
I like
so
that bit.
Yeah, so obviously he's struggling a lot because it's a very different environment, and that kind of makes sense. But yeah, the fact that it's not just, I think he says, that kid's never played in mud like that before.
He doesn't even know what mud is.
Yeah, but it's that's not, his argument should just be, give him a trial on a day when the weather's more reasonable or something like that. But instead he's just no, give him a month. Just, because it does rain here.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
The irony is, if he was playing here now, he'd be in his element. What with the drought.
He would be, yeah. He'd have no issues. Although I do think that the movie was set around January, or it started around January, because Gavin Harris joins Newcastle in the January transfer market. So, weather would still be bad, is what I'm saying. Even in the winter. Maybe it's going to take another 30 years for the winter to be 20 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure. We'll all enjoy it when that happens. So the plot, it's got a lot of melodrama because it needs to fill time basically, and some of the things that happen are a bit ridiculous, like the asthma thing, and the manager keeps giving this guy chances, but it's the typical hero's journey of just overcoming obstacles, and obviously it's just in football. A lot of bumps along the way, just to keep things interesting. A lot of what I did like about this movie is actually there's quite a wide array of characters, and they really do explore the different people who would be in a football club, and don't just focus on Santiago Munoz. So you got for example, that 33-year-old reserve defender. He's a character. Remember him?
33.
The guy who stamps on his asthma. Oh, his inhaler.
Oh, I saw him do. Yeah, I do remember him.
Yeah, and you got the young Scouse lad from Tranmere.
Is he the one who gets his knee injured?
Yeah, gets his knee injured. You got the agent, Gavin Harris. He's like, I can get you all the endorsements, mate. Yeah, you all these different aspects of being a footballer. That is the reality of it, and it just doesn't focus on Santiago Munoz. It gives you the full experience of being a football player at Newcastle United, or any Premier League team for that matter, which I thought was good. I don't know if you would agree with that, the range of characters in the movie.
Yes. I'll tell you what this film reminded me of, Luke. Were you aware of the TV series Dream Team?
No.
Okay, so it was on Sky One, and I never watched it, but I liked the idea of it. Basically, it kind of made me think of wrestling. So wrestling.
Yeah.
The idea is it's there's supposed to be backstories behind each fight. So it's kind of the reason why people like wrestling is, even though the fighting is fake, the argument goes, well, it's entertaining because you actually get invested in the personalities of the various fighters. So, even though it's not the individual's efforts that cause them to win or lose, well, that's how it works in a lot of things. If you're watching some guy fight another guy in a kung fu film, it's scripted, doesn't mean you're not invested in it. Anyway, so the way Dream Team worked as a concept is basically it was like a soap opera, but also football. So it was like a soap opera, but interspersed with, they actually played football matches for this, I don't know, it was a fictional football club. Anyway, and I liked it because it was kind of it meant that you could construct a perfect melodramatic football match, where it was you had, when the striker goes to strike the ball, well, maybe he's got something going on in his life and you can see behind the scenes and see that. And I was thinking to myself when I was watching this, I bet this would be what it was like if I actually bothered to watch Dream Team. And then I was thinking to myself, I think the idea possibly actually works better as a TV series, because the one thing I agree with you, and this is kind of bringing back to what you were saying, I agree with you, the characters are quite good. I almost think that, as much as I was kind of somewhat indifferent towards this film, ironically, I was thinking that I could imagine it makes sense to have more of this film, and it makes a lot of sense to me that there are sequels, because it kind of almost seemed like I guess it's because football is such a long slog, and I don't mean that in a boring way, but it's football isn't really just 3 matches most of the time. There's a lot of things that go on. So yeah, the idea it was like kind of a bit rushed, and not necessarily in like a bad pacing way, but more like just too much stuff to actually do. So it's kind of just like they show up and it's already at the end of the season, and then he ends up.
Well, that's just because he signed it near the end of the season.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you that I did like the cast of characters. I did kind of think, like, given that you've got the cast of characters, and also, to be honest, actually, just an aside, apparently, because obviously I haven't seen the sequel, I'm kind of think it's a bit weird that the sequel is him moving to Real Madrid, because then it's like, okay, so then they're going to have to introduce a whole load of other characters. But whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. From what I can remember, the second movie is not as detailed when it comes to characters and is more lazy. Like, this movie can't be accused of being lazy when it comes to, like, the characters surrounding, like, Santiago Nunez. They're all, like, you know, I guess maybe layered is too much of a compliment, but, well, they're all detailed, I guess. They've all got something about them, and aren't just, like, a bland, like the bland manager or the bland agent, or, you know, teammate with nothing to him. Like the teammate, you know, he's like, oh, he's got injured, and, you know, he's from Tranmere, got a whole backstory. You know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, you like in a movie. And yes, you are correct, it would work more in a TV setting. You know, I think these kind of movies generally do, because you're right, it's hard to mash like a whole season's worth of stuff and a load of characters. Obviously, there's like 18 or 20 in a football team, like, into a movie. But that's why I think it's okay that Nunez joined near the end of the season, because
good
it's
idea,
like,
Luke.
oh, there's only a few weeks to the season's left. Yeah, it was a good idea. But the thing is, when the Real Madrid sequel, I believe he signed at the beginning, and so they have to go through a whole like year, and obviously there's a lot of stuff to squash into like a year. So
it's like an episode of Harry Potter
there,
or a Harry Potter film.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think just because he was in squad for about, I don't know, like 6 weeks, 2 months, it works basically. It's not, things don't go too fast basically.
Yeah, I think you know, there are quite a few. There are quite a few football films, like United. No, is it called United? It's the one where David Tennant plays. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the one where David Tennant plays the manager, and it's also the one where okay, so you know that Yugoslavia thing where they're on the way back from Yugoslavia and the the plane explodes.
Oh, you're talking about the Munich air disaster?
Yeah, that was No, was it? Okay, I'm gonna look like an idiot here. That was Man United, right?
You are correct. It was Man United.
Good.
The 6th of February 1958.
Yeah, okay, so there's a film about that. And it's a pretty good film. And I would recommend it. But the point is, like, so for example, like, there are quite a few good films that sort of play off the idea of having the characters, because obviously it's a really good film, because that's kind of like happens towards the end of the film, so it's kind of like you've already got to know all the characters and you've seen them play football and stuff like that, and then obviously it happens, and it especially works if you're really ignorant about history like me. Because then it's like, wow, what a surprise. And it had Bobby Charlton in it.
Yes.
And he was the only one who survived.
He was not the only one who survived, but...
He was the only one who survived. And then he won football.
Yeah, he won the football. God, that's such a tragedy, because Man United, that team was really, really good. Had a load of good young English players in it, and a load of obviously good young Man United players in it who we could have won Man United, but that could have been like a golden era for us. I mean, it turned out to be a golden era anyway, because we had George Best and Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law, but God, we could have won more than one European Cup and could have won a lot more league titles in the 60s. And England could have perhaps won the World Cup in 62 and 58 as well, perhaps, I don't know. But it's certainly a possibility if that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's like when you build a really, like loads and loads of soldiers, and you put them onto one of your galleons, and you're like sailing them across the sea, and then some fucking like navy comes along and sinks your galleon, and you're like, oh, all those soldiers. Like, I could have invaded England, man. That's what it's like.
Yeah, great comparison there, Michael. Thanks for that.
Well, actually, you know what? It's a bit like the Spanish Armada. Like, I bet Prince Philip or King Philip felt exactly the same about the Spanish Armada as Manchester United feels about the Munich air disaster. It's like, oh man, I so could have been the King of England if only it hadn't been for that.
Yeah.
Damn sea disaster.
Obviously, the fact that they lost their lives is the bigger tragedy. No getting away from that, but there is a small part of you that just thinks, wow, if they just stayed alive, Man United could have had a lot more success.
When you think about it, Luke, people die all the time, but how often does Manchester United win the football? Not as often as people die.
No.
So when you think about it, that kind of matters more.
Yeah, we've only won half of the Premier Leagues, like
ever.
Clearly, we need ever. We've only won 13 out of 26. Like that's 50%. Like around 100% of people die. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So who cares about people dying? What really matters is let's make that 51%.
So, Michael, we've talked about the issue with what's in the plot. I just want to talk about some of the things that are missing from the plot.
Yes.
So there's the scene where Santiago signs with Newcastle. Oh, sorry, no, there should be a scene where Santiago signs with Newcastle. Because it's a big moment, like he gets his contract, him and Glenn should be celebrating that they've made it. He's come all the way from LA, and he's finally signed a contract which gives him some money. He's now a professional footballer. But obviously they skip over that.
They just reveal it in a throwaway line, which kind of confused me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I got a contract.
He says it to his girlfriend, doesn't he? And by the way, there's not a lot of Glenn in the second half of the movie, so that scene would have been nice to have him in more, because he's in a lot in the first half, and he's just like kind of forgotten in the second half. So yeah, that should have been in it. It was a big moment. It would have been like, yes, we've made it, done it, Santiago, well done. Maybe they didn't have it because it would have taken away from the eventual end of the movie. Like, it's like, oh, he's already succeeded, he's already got his contract. Like, who cares if they beat Liverpool? He's already made it, he's already living the dream. So they try and skip over it. But so I thought that scene could have been in there. And the other scene is when the dad of Santiago Munez, this should have been in it, where he realizes he's made a mistake with Santiago, and maybe perhaps looks at pictures of him when he was a kid with a football, like, damn, I should have let him follow his dream, and I gave up on him, and now look, I've been a fool. Basically, because his brother, Santiago's brother, says to his dad, hey,
he wants to talk
Santiago's
to
on the line, do you want to talk to him? Yeah, and then like the next time you see him, he's walking into the bar in Los Angeles.
In Newcastle.
And celebrating with all the Geordies in Los Angeles. So like there's quite a gap there, like quite a big jump from.
No, I agree with you. That is.
Yeah.
It was really weird because it was literally he was like, I don't want to talk to him. He is a traitor. If I ever see him again, I will.
Well, he didn't. He didn't go that far.
He didn't go that far.
He softened up a bit. He said he's like a thief, and then he's like, I don't want to talk to him. So he's softening up, but there's still a big gap to then like going to your local fucking. Well, it's not even a local bar probably, and watching him. And that's the thing. When he walks into the bar, like there's ominous music that's playing. So clearly, it's like, oh, what's this guy doing here? Like, oh, he's still the bad guy. But then obviously he becomes the good guy. There should have been like a scene of him realizing that he fucked up with regards to Santiago. But those are the two scenes I think the movie's missing. You got anything else to say about the plot?
No.
No. Yeah. I imagine, obviously this movie is very popular amongst kids. It's not a movie for kids, but it'd be popular because obviously it's all about the romance regarding football. So although some things that panned out quite unrealistic, and we can critique that, and that's not big a deal. Like what happened, I guess, is possible in this movie. And so, it's just a movie at the end of the day. It's meant to make you feel good. Like, I was looking at some of the Wikipedia oh sorry, not Wikipedia reviews, critical reviews on Wikipedia of this movie, and a review from Variety.com called Goal a slickly mounted slice of can-do nonsense. And BBC Film said it's a fantasy that stumbles when it strains for real emotion. And someone else said, run-of-the-mill story invokes every known sports movie cliche, which is true, that is true. But like the fact that they're so dismissive towards this movie, it's like, oh, it's a load of can-do nonsense. It's just a fantasy and whatever. It's like, well, yeah, obviously, that's what these kind of movies are. Like, what did you expect? Like, these are all. That's the case with sports movies, and I guess that's why sports movies are never actually that good. There's always like cliches and kind of fantasy stuff. And, yeah, this
What
one
about
never
The Wrestler
actually
by
really-
Darren Aronofsky? What
Well, I
about
haven't
Rocky
seen that.
Balboa?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on the Rocky movies. Those need their own fucking podcast. But yeah, basically, like, that's the case with a lot of sports movies, shall I say. A lot of sports movies, just unrealistic things happen. Like, this guy goes from Los Angeles to Newcastle, but that's the whole point. Like, yeah, it's a fantasy, but, you know, movies, I'm gonna be like that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
share
every kid born in LA dreams of one day growing up to make it big in Newcastle.
That's what they all want. So yeah.
Leaving boring old LA.
Boring old LA, the barrios in LA. So yeah, that's basically the plot. Goal. I think we should now move on to the football scenes in Goal, because this is a football movie, and although I'd argue that the actual sports scenes in any sports movie aren't that important, generally, I still think it can go in how good these scenes are can affect your enjoyment of the movie. Would you say so?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I've seen some sports movies before which are just like awful. The actual sport is not played well by the actors. There's this famous story about the basketball movie White Men Can't Jump. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard of it.
One of the actors, Wesley Snipes, apparently was god awful at basketball. Like, he really couldn't play at all. So they had to do some like clever stuff in like how they filmed it to make him seem like he was a good player. So yeah, that's it. It's often risky doing sports movies because obviously the actors aren't professional athletes, so it's quite hard for them to perform like professional athletes. It's why actually in the 1995 Spike Lee movie He Got Game, I haven't seen the movie, but I know that one of the main characters in it was Ray Allen, who is a professional basketball player, or who was a professional basketball player, so he actually performed a lot of the basketball scenes in the movie to make it look realistic. So
Shaq
you
is
can
an
go
actor.
Not really.
He was in the film Steel.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was in the film. He was in another film called. It was an Adam Sandler film. So there we go. That's the mark of a true actor.
He's also in Uncle Drew, which is a basketball movie that was released this summer. That we actually
Really?
should review, Michael, because it could be interesting. I'd like you to
Because
watch
you
that
like
movie,
basketball.
Uncle Drew.
Maybe we can celebrate
Yeah.
the start of the basketball season. Maybe we can celebrate March Madness,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Although
and we can fill out our
The-
brackets.
March Madness is different from the NBA. Like, you'll have to do Blue Chips, I think that's the movie. And there's other college basketball movies that we do rather than Uncle Drew. That focus specifically on the
films.
NCAA tournament and March Madness. But yeah, anyway, back to Goal and
What are we going to do
scenes.
for the start of the dodgeball season?
I don't even know when that begins. Do you?
Every day is the start of the dodgeball season if you've got a ball and you've got a mind
Yeah,
and a heart.
great stuff. So the football scenes in Goal, they were poor. Simply put, they weren't that good. I'm not sure how hard it was to get like accurate like shots of accurate like goals where, for example, there's multiple times in the movie when the ball goes in the opposite direction to where it was kicked. Like, some player kicks it towards the side of the goal and actually goes more towards the middle, like the shot cuts away and it shows the ball going in a completely other opposite direction to where it was kicked. So I'm not sure how hard it is to get these things to work, but there were multiple times where even in the first scene, which Muniz is in on goal, like he's playing in Los Angeles, and he kicks the ball out of the goal, and it's meant to go like, I think it's towards the bottom of the goal, like either of the bottom corners, but it goes into the roof of the net. So immediately from there I was like, right, the actual football scenes in this movie aren't going to be that good. I don't know if you agree on that one, Michael, or not.
Yeah, so there's a famous College Humor sketch called Hoops, where it takes the Michael, if you will, out of a habit of, there's a standard thing that happens, which people have a deep conversation while shooting basketball hoops.
Yeah.
So like, hey man, how you doing? Not great. Anyway, and what it will typically do is obviously like, it won't use the actual, they'll throw the ball wherever, and then it will just cut to a shot of the ball going in, and it takes it to an extreme where it reaches a point where they literally are like just throwing the ball behind them and it's still going in, which is quite funny.
Yes.
So basically, yeah, I agree. Like, there's obviously, I mean, I guess it's almost more of an editing thing than a technical footballing ability thing. Like, I mean, obviously footballing ability comes into it, yeah, but like you need to edit it so it looks pretty good. And yeah, I agree with you. The actual football, I didn't
you had
really care
nitpick
about
on this, didn't you?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can mention this now. So basically, he's doing this drill where he's kicking the football, kind of like from a distance into the net or into the goal.
Yes.
But all I was thinking was like, that doesn't look very hard.
No.
Like, all he's doing, like, because it actually reminded me, there's a scene in United, which is convenient I brought that up, where he puts a kind of old milk bottle. Do you remember Milkmen, Luke?
I
so
do,
it's like
yes.
a glass milk bottle. And what he's doing is he is, really, really far away, and he's kicking the football so that it hits the milk bottle and, like, knocks it out of the way. And it's really impressive because he's doing it from a huge distance, and he's kicking it up in the air, and it's landing right on the milk bottle so that it knocks out of the way. And that's impressive, and I wouldn't be able to do that. But all Nunez is doing is he's literally stood, like, almost at the penalty spot, and all he's got to do is kick the football into the net. And I'm thinking, I could do that. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing.
The football. Like, there's no goalkeeper there. Very weird.
The manager is watching him and is like, "Oh, that's impressive." He's like, okay, he's standing in front of a goal. It's 10 yards away, or maybe 18, I don't know, and he's just kicking it into the bottom corner. Not really right into the bottom corner, just like around the bottom corner. It's not like the shots are incredibly accurate. And yeah, it's right. You are right. It's like, this is easy. Nobody should be impressed by this. This isn't a very hard thing to do, especially for a professional footballer. Yeah. There's also an incident, since we're still on this topic, where the keeper in net, keeper keeps diving the wrong way. It was in the last game against Liverpool, where I think the worst example was of this. So Muniz is dribbling down the wing, and the manager keeps screaming, pass, and of course there's a little mini narrative that Muniz doesn't pass.
Yeah.
He needs to be more of a team player. But the thing is, like, he's doing quite well. He's like skinned like 4 people, and the manager's still mad at him, but whatever. He crosses the ball in to Gavin Harris, and Gavin Harris volleys it, and the keeper just needs to stand still in the middle of the goal, and he saves it, but he like dives to the left, completely missing the ball, and obviously Gavin Harris scores. And it's right there, it's like, couldn't you have made that a bit better? Like, how much time did you spend filming that? It was just like, okay, one take, oh, he scored, the keeper dived the wrong way, we're done. Like, you couldn't have had it be more realistic, like Gavin Harris shoots in one of the bottom corners and the keeper dives the right way, but just doesn't get to it. Like, that's the thing, you don't need Gavin Harris to actually take the shot, you just need any, like, semi-competent person to take the shot. I don't know why they why there was so little effort when it came to the football scenes. Like, it's surely not that hard to do, just because that's the thing, you don't need to, the actor doesn't actually need to kick it in. You can have the actor shooting, and then you can have somebody who actually can play football, if the actors can't play football, kicking the ball into the net, and the keeper diving the right way, and a maximum of 5 takes, and you've got it, and it looks so much better. So that's just why it's so frustrating. I can't imagine, like I said before, it's that hard to get these things to be accurate when you're filming them. But whatever. Do you have anything else to say in the football scenes?
I was just going to say, you could say that, like, a film about football that has like not very good football is like a film about kung fu, or a kung fu film that has not very good kung fu. Like, I'm reminded of Jackie Chan and how he famously puts loads of effort into making sure that the fight scenes are really well choreographed and all that stuff. And you think, like, you know, maybe just choreograph it. Just say, okay, so you're going to stand here. Because here's the thing, okay? I'm not great at football, but I think, like, if all you've got to do is do anything for one shot, then, you know, just one shot, film it, then I think, in principle, with a bit of effort, most people would be able to do that. So even if it's like, you know, you've got to chip the ball over this guy, like, okay, I couldn't do that on my first try, but,
Yeah.
you know, I could, if I've just got to do it for one shot and then they're going to cut to a different shot. But yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. It probably demonstrates a lack of commitment, and I think that's truly the sad thing, Luke.
That's the sad thing. So, last thing on the football scenes, I got to talk about the final free kick, which obviously Santiago Munoz scores to give Newcastle a 3-2 win over Liverpool. Like, it's in the last few minutes. It's the big, you know, final scene where he finally.
Not as good as Germany's against Sweden.
No, not as good as Toni Kroos. But the thing is, okay, it was awful. Like, the final free kick, everything about it was just awful. So, I'm pretty sure Gavin Harris gets fouled near the centre of the pitch, and obviously the free kick is on the right wing. Like, it looks like he's fouled right around the edge of the penalty box, but then it cuts to where Munoz is taking the free kick, and it's like, whoa, he's all the way on the right hand side of the pitch. Also, Munoz is not in a position to score there. Like, from that angle, it'd be a cross. Like, the commentator says, all a City's hopes rest on, like, Munoz's shoulders. And, like, Gavin Harris is like, no, you can take it from here, mate. And all that. But it's like, he really shouldn't be trying to score from this angle. It should be a cross. Like, it should all be about who can get, like, a touch on this. Like, obviously, Toni Kroos did it against Sweden, that kind of free kick, and you can score from there. But when I was watching that free kick, I was not like, oh yeah, Toni Kroos is going to shoot here. It was expected that he was going to put the ball in the box, because it would give him the best chance to score. Obviously, it was an insanely accurate free kick, but from those kind of angles, it's a shot, a cross, not a shot. So all this momentum is kind of, all this suspense, it doesn't really make that much sense considering the position he was shooting from. Then obviously to score, Munoz must then strike the ball. Did you notice what he did, or not really what he did wrong, but what foot he fucking strike the ball with, Michael?
I'm going to guess it's the wrong foot.
It is the wrong foot. So Munoz, throughout this movie, has been striking the ball with his right foot. He's right-footed, basically. Like, he uses his right foot, but in this free kick, he takes it with his left foot. Now, unless Munoz is like Santi Cazorla, who can use his right foot and left foot to take free kicks, it's simply unrealistic, because no player, even if the angle's better, which obviously the angle, because it was on the right wing, suited a left footer, no player, unless they're like Santi Cazorla, would strike the ball with their weaker foot. It would always be their right foot. There is no way, like, Munoz is taking that with his left foot. Like, I take free kicks a lot, and if I'm in that position, it'd be like, oh yeah, sure, left foot would be better because you have a better angle, but I'm taking this with my right because I'm more confident in my right foot. Like, the thing is, the scores.
I thought you were left-handed.
No, I'm right-handed as well. I'm right-footed, right-handed.
This is the real twist. My entire life, I've been living a lie.
Yeah. He takes the free kick with his wrong foot. Like, I was thinking that when we were watching, it was like, wait, surely from that angle he'd have to hit it with his left. And obviously you watch it and it's like, oh yeah, he hits it with his left foot. No, he's right-footed. So yeah. That's basically it with the final free kick. Like, it should be like the crowning moment of the movie. Well, it is, but it should be a great moment. It should be like well executed and it should make sense. Did no one think, oh yeah, he's actually kicking this with his wrong foot? Like, just, that didn't come up apparently. But yeah. Also the actor, what's he called? Kuno Becker or something? Let me just gather that up. Yeah, Kuno Becker. Like, obviously I don't think he's that good at football, which obviously he's an actor, so I wouldn't expect him to, but he just kicks weird. Like, you see him kick a ball, he's got no control with his leg, he just like throws his leg at the ball in a really weird, like, swinging fashion. It's very hard to be accurate, I think, with the technique that he uses, which is interesting. But yeah, obviously, it's very easy to kick a ball forward, so, yeah, I don't think that's too big an issue. Might not even be that bad, but just from how I was looking at him kick the ball, it didn't seem like he could kick properly. Like I said, he just throws his leg at the ball. So yeah, that's all That's all I have to say on the football scenes. Unfortunately, they were a negative thing about this movie. They're a bad thing. It should have been a positive, because I don't think it'd be that hard to make them a positive. I know this is a football movie, so you'd hope they were decent, but sadly, they were not decent. Sadly, they were not.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are moving on now, Michael, to the setting, Newcastle. So you've already mentioned in this podcast a few times some stereotypes about Geordies and Newcastle in general. Do you want to continue with that?
Yeah. So, as we all know, they're called Geordies because they sided with King George in the... I don't know when they sided with King George, but that is why they're called Geordies. I can't think when that would have been, because, everyone knows that the Georges were around during a time of relative political
You know what, Michael, when I asked you about Newcastle...
So basically, we all know they hate Sunderland, the land of Sunders. They're stupid, and they're poor, and they all used to work in mines until Margaret Thatcher decided to make life better for everyone by making them all poor, and they didn't like that for some reason, probably because they're communists. They probably all voted Brexit.
Yeah,
and also, I think I'm right in saying the most Labour constituency in England is in Newcastle.
I think it might be in Liverpool.
Basically, Jacob Rees-Mogg, well, you obviously know Jacob Rees-Mogg, he did a thing, I don't know what it was with, possibly the BBC or something, but basically he was walking around the most Labour constituency, trying to, talking to people like, hey, do you want to vote for the Conservatives? And I'm pretty sure it was in Newcastle. It could have been this could be another example of me being northeast racist again, and it was actually somewhere like Hartlepool or...
I think I remember something like that. I think it was in Middlesbrough.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I maybe we're thinking of two different things, but I remember something like that, and it being in Middlesbrough. It was something to do with the Guardian. It was like the Guardian did anywhere but Westminster kind of thing. It was like the Tory candidate in Middlesbrough, or it's just this awful area, like no jobs, no prospects. Can the Tories win here? And the answer was a very definite no to that question. But yeah, so I think this movie was set in the perfect place. I think Newcastle and Newcastle United genuinely it was the best place to set this movie, because as Glenn Foy says when he's driving Santiago Munez to St James's Park, Newcastle is a city unlike any other in Britain when it comes to football. Like London, there's loads of teams. Manchester, there's 2. Liverpool, there's 2. Same as Glasgow and Edinburgh, even Bristol, there's 2. Obviously, there's 4 in Birmingham, and all across the East Midlands there's clubs. But in Newcastle, there's only one, Newcastle United. And obviously, Newcastle is a big city. It's bigger than Leicester or Nottingham or Norwich or all these places with one big club, and not 2 rivals competing against each other.
Milton Keynes, we just have one, if you can believe it.
Yeah,
we used to have 0.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Until we stole one from Wimbledon.
Fucking
until we
stole
snuck
it from
over.
Wimbledon. Yeah,
So
the
funny.
Milton Keynes Don franchise. That's what that is, Michael.
Classic. We're hilarious
Yeah.
that we just stole someone else's football team.
Milton Keynes is just so fake. Just everything about it is just so fake. Just want to throw that out there, Michael.
Well, I'd rather be fake and still have all the money we make.
Then what?
Well, I don't know. I was saying something that I figured probably a rapper would say. 'Cause,
Okay.
Rappers are good at responding to things.
Mhm.
Anyway, you're right, Luke.
Yeah, it is the
Nottingham?
perfect.
Did you mention
Yeah.
Nottingham?
I did mention Nottingham. I did. I don't think
Okay.
Nottingham is as big as Newcastle. I'm pretty sure Newcastle is the biggest city in England with one football club. So It is a perfect place to set it, because it's literally Newcastle United's like a religion there. Everybody around Newcastle has this common thing, which is Newcastle United.
I'm going to try and prove you wrong. This is my theory, okay?
Okay.
Leeds.
Oh, that's a good one, but there's a lot of mini sort of towns around Leeds, like Bradford.
Yeah. I'm gonna do some research while you talk about whatever.
Yeah, that's a
nonsense you
good one
want to
actually.
talk about.
Leeds is a good one. But there is. I'm sure there's Bradford, I know, which is near Leeds. I imagine some other towns that are near Leeds that also have a football team. Sheffield's another one with two football teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know. I'm
Leeds is
going to find out
professional.
what the population of Newcastle. Oh, Newcastle is surprisingly small. Guess what the population of Newcastle is?
What's the population of Newcastle?
That's not a guess. 268,000. Like obviously, I
No,
assume
that
it's
can't be
more.
that.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
this is for
just be
Newcastle
the
upon Tyne. Wait, okay, so I'm gonna look. I'll look at all the because it'll probably have a list of different. Okay. Population. So, all right, okay, so city population 295,000. Urban Tyneside 879,000. Well, 880,000 practically. And Metro Tyneside Wearside. Wearside? I don't know. 1,650,000. So, I don't know, yeah. I guess maybe if we went by urban, but... I
Yeah,
don't know
well,
what that
basically,
is.
the point is Newcastle is a big city with one football team, and that's why it works, because obviously this movie is about, like, romance, and dreams and glory and all that. That fits in well with Newcastle, because they're not a team that's had a lot of success recently. They did back in the 50s and 60s, I believe. So they're like this big club with a big following that everybody in the city supports. So it makes sense that like this guy Santiago Munez would help restore Newcastle to glory. They're a likable club, Newcastle as well, which helps. Like if Munez went to say Manchester United, then it'd be like okay, like Man United are already good. Like it's not really that great a story that he helped like the rich get richer with Man United. Or if he went to like I don't know Bolton or Blackburn who were in the Premier League around this time, it would be like well there's like about 10,000 people. Nah, I'm being a bit harsher. Like 100,000 people who care about this because that's the population of Bolton, and I don't know about Blackburn, but obviously it's not as big as Newcastle.
Preston North End.
What?
I'm just naming places that are football teams for relatively small places.
Yeah, so, yeah, like, even if you went to a city with a big, in a similar situation to Newcastle in terms of size and success, say, I don't know, Southampton. Southampton. There's not the same kind of romance associated with Southampton that there is associated with Newcastle as well.
The extreme south coast in general doesn't care much about football.
Yeah,
they're too
exactly.
busy playing yachting.
Yeah, they're too busy.
Our yachting team appears to have done very well recently.
Yeah.
Splendid.
Yachting and sailing. So yeah, that's why Newcastle for those three reasons, like the romance, the fact that it's only one team, and the fact that they aren't that good. It's a big city. All these reasons are the reason why Newcastle was the perfect place. I do think actually the movie did capture like the spirit, I guess, of Newcastle quite well. With the fact that everybody, like even like the old women were interested in how the football team was doing. So I get the sense with Newcastle that is the case more than most of the cities.
Are you saying
like,
that
like
Newcastle's women are all men?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think we're done with Newcastle setting. Thumbs up for that. That was a good choice.
I would like to say that if you were to watch most films, you wouldn't actually realise that Newcastle existed in any other time beyond Thatcherian England.
I guess not. It is kind of defined by that.
Oh, Newcastle existed after the 1980s? Blimey.
Well, yeah, it wasn't really Newcastle that was decimated by Thatcher. There's other places in the UK that much more were hurt much more by Thatcher than Newcastle.
Name 8 places. Nah, not really.
I mean, I could, but
to be honest, I don't know. I can name.
It was just name a load of places in Yorkshire, like Barnsley, and Burnley, and like that. Yeah. So, okay. Next up, we got the characters. So Santiago Munez, the main character, achieves his dream. Yeah, of course he had to be an attacking player, couldn't be a centre back and achieve his dream. That makes sense. Yeah, I think Kuno Becker does a good job in portraying Santiago. He does seem like quite a nice, humble guy, and obviously that works because he needs to be likable. Everybody wants him to achieve his dream. So yeah, I think very good protagonist, very nice guy. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about that.
I guess kind of interesting. They had the whole thing about he's a bull hog, but also I don't really know if they did that much of that, but it was vaguely interesting.
No. The thing is, like, often quote unquote bull hogs have a lot of flair about them. Like, that's the reality of the situation. You've got a player who's
Yeah, it's a bit
very good
inconsistent
with
to
the
be-
ball. Yeah, the keeper.
because basically they said like, oh, we like that you have flair, or somebody said.
Yeah.
The man, not the agent guy who isn't actually an agent because he's retired or something. He was like, oh, you got flair, it's good. And I was like, oh, you haven't passed, that's bad.
Santiago Munez would not do well under Jose Mourinho. Like, Jose Mourinho would not like Santiago Munez. I think who would like? I guess any other manager probably, because Mourinho is like that. Every other manager likes to play like attacking football. Certainly in the top 6 of the Premier League, but not Mourinho. Fucking not Mourinho. Next up, we got Glenn Foy. I think this guy again was quite believable, as you could he was one of those guys who's like, oh yeah, this lad can play. I like him. He's got skill. I'm very I guess it's a stereotype.
Yeah, he did seem very.
I don't know.
I mean, for example, Scottish guy for Fulham United, David Tennant, is Scottish. So what I'm saying is basically, I think there's kind of, so you know how in America there's like a thing called the magical Negro? It's like okay.
No.
So basically it's like one of those kind of tropes people point to where basically it's always like a lot of the time there'll be a wise black mentor who's like kind of a bit older, in Happy Gilmore. I feel like in British kind of like culture, I mean obviously this isn't like a British film, but it is a lot to do with Britain.
Same Britain.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have like Scottish people are often good mentors. Like I think if the people who are really gonna get you somewhere, like they're gonna be the Scottish people who really believe in you for some reason.
Yeah, they've just got this wiseness about them. If they obviously can speak properly. Stephen Delane as Glenn Foy. That's the actor's name, by the way, Stephen Delane or Stephen Delane, whatever. Next up, we've got Alessandra Nivola as Gavin Harris.
Alan.
So
Alan.
I didn't recognise him from Jurassic Park 3, but whatever. So he's a stereotype of like the mid 2000s footballer, like flashy and cocky and in the tabloids and a playboy and all that.
Yeah, that's not as much of a thing anymore, is it? Like,
No.
I have a memory of that, like with Bex.
Yeah,
But-
Bex, and that was like the peak celebrity tabloid culture in the early to mid 2000s, and obviously Gavin Harris fits right into that. Nowadays, footballers generally aren't like that anymore, or generally the stereotype of footballers has changed. Like if you Gavin Harris isn't the stereotype anymore, like of footballers, or that's what I'd say anyway. Like the papers tried to make footballers like that, but like how they tried to make Raheem Sterling kind of like a flashy, like cocky player, gets tattoos and all that. But like Sterling is just he's got a family and he's got 2 kids, and it's like it's a bygone era. It's the same actually in the NBA. Like in the NBA, it's the case that a lot of players actually now aren't what you'd associate with like typical NBA players, or certainly in the past. Like in the mid 2000s and early 2000s, you had Allen Iverson and other tattoos and like people like literally there's a story of NBA players like pulling guns on each other in locker rooms. Like there was a serious like a gang culture in the NBA, I guess. That's all gone now. So I don't know why that's the case. Maybe it's the internet. I have no idea what's the reason for this, but yeah, certainly Gavin Harris is a stereotype of the mid-2000s sports player or sportsman in England at least. Yeah, gives another dimension to the film. It's another interesting character, like the opposite of Santiago Munez. What I don't like though is he kind of switches on a dime. In regards to him realizing that he's making poor life choices and Munez was right, and he's like apologizes to the manager and is like, nah, no more partying and girls or whatever, we're just going to focus on the football. It's kind of a weird switch, because maybe that's a good idea for another scene actually, where he's reflecting on the fact that obviously
I was thinking
Santiago's
that. It's very comparable
dies,
to Santiago's dad. The fact that it's like they need to have a scene where it's like he realizes he's wrong, and they didn't have that scene.
Yeah, so maybe he realized that Santiago's dad died. He's like feels sorry for him. It's like damn, maybe he was right. Like life is just goes so quick, and and then obviously, then you can have that scene, and then he apologizes. But yeah, that did not happen. No scene with him there. So yeah, the dad is up next. Just see what the actor is called. Tony Plana. He just called Santiago's father, by the way. That's just what he's known as. He doesn't actually have a name. He's a Cuban-American actor. He was in Ugly Betty. Did you know that?
Ugly Betty? I love that
Ugly
film.
Betty.
That show.
What a TV show that was.
Let's review it.
Let's not. So the dad, I think, isn't that believable, to be honest, because of the fact, like you said before, he's like, how can a working class fucking person become a world class footballer or professional footballer? It just doesn't happen. Except all of the best football players are working class or have come from backgrounds like the favelas with Neymar and Ronaldo. He grew up in not poverty, but wasn't very wealthy in Madeira. I'm pretty sure Messi was the same in Buenos Aires. Mbappe grew up, and Pogba as well, grew up in like the bad areas of Paris, like not ghettos, because obviously those are in America. I don't know what the French equivalent is. But yeah, generally that's the case with athletes in football and in other sports. They grow up in areas that aren't that good and don't really have a lot of other prospects outside of sport. So yeah, and the fact that his dad is so set against him becoming a professional footballer when he must know the amount of money Santiago could earn if he's good. Like, this guy could be earning millions of pounds a year, and it's like, okay, if a scout thinks it's worth it, then I'd give it a go, because if it doesn't work, he can just come back to the US and they can get on with their lives. But what's the risk? Why not take a gamble? So yeah, and yeah, his dad's just too much against the idea of Munoz becoming a footballer, and obviously they do that because they want conflict, and they want, the dad's like, you can't do it. They want him to make that choice. Santiago's like, I have to stick with my dad. I'm just going around cleaning houses or whatever, or become a footballer. My dad's pulling me this way, but my dreams are pulling me the other way. What do I do? In reality, his dad should be like, yeah, if you can become a professional footballer, go for it. Like, millions of pounds for us. And yeah, he does switch on a dime, as we talked about earlier as well.
Yes, exactly.
Anything to say on that character?
No, I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I actually covered that a lot.
Yes.
So, the nurse next up.
No nurses are actually hot.
Anna Friel. Yeah,
I've genuinely never met a hot nurse.
No, I haven't.
It's a lie, and to be honest, I think I hate about it is I think it's encouraging many young men to intentionally injure themselves, just hoping that they'll get to meet one of these beautiful dream nurses, and they don't actually exist. Most of them, let's be honest, are very old Malaysian women.
So it's Anna Friel as Ros Harmison. That's the actress's name, Anna Friel. The character she plays, Ros Harmison. She actually was born in Greater Manchester, in Rochdale, and has appeared in a number of English television programmes, and portrayed the first lesbian kiss in Brookside, I think, because that's what it says here. So there you go. That's something interesting. The first lesbian kiss. Congratulations to Anna Friel. So she gets over Santiago having fun with those women quite easily. But yeah, like, she says she's not allowed to date footballers, but then she dates him, but whatever. Just very, very decent love interest. Nothing really else to say about her. Next up we've got, and I think the last one, is Marcel Lures as Eric Dornhelm. So this guy is the manager.
Yeah, he is like, I guess, yeah, the problem with him is, like, a lot of what we've already pointed out, that, like, a lot of what he does doesn't really make much sense. The fact that he literally just, on the one hand, he goes from pretty much, you're through, I hate you, you suck, you never pass, you didn't play very well in the rain, blah, 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 you couldn't breathe properly, and literally every single time it's like, well, guess I'll give you another chance.
Yeah.
Give me another chance.
He changes his mind quite easily.
Like a girl changes clothes.
Like a girl changes clothes. Yeah. So, I think he's kind of a wise guy. I like his accent, by the way. One of Gavin Harris's friends calls him a German twat, which is kind of funny. The actual actor is Romanian, by the way.
Oh, so he should have pressed into suck his blood.
Yeah. But the thing is, when I was watching it as a kid, I thought he was English. I think they cut the German twat out on the version I watched because I don't really remember that. But yeah, so that's the thing with Marcel Luters. I don't know, what is the thing with him? He's just a wise manager that doesn't really have an idea or a plan. Just going through the motions because that's what the script requires him to do. Oh, Santiago, you can't make the team. Oh, no, you can. You're starting against Liverpool. Why? Because narrative, whatever. Yeah, just a standard manager, and that's all I've got to say about him. And we are done with the characters, unless you want to talk about any of the other characters, Michael. What about Roz's mum? What do you think about her?
Oh, I thought that she was a really sexy cougar.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good scene, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we should sum up now. Do you want to go first? Because I've been talking for a while.
Yes. So I think while we've been talking about this film, I've realised a lot of the problems of it, and one of the things I'm going to use this as a term because I think it's a very good term. This film is very I definitely have breast cancer-y. It is
Okay, explain.
which of course, so in The Room, which is what I'm of course referencing, there's a line, I definitely have breast cancer, and it's a line that ultimately doesn't affect the plot very much, in fact doesn't affect the plot at all, and it's literally thrown in there because of course Tommy Wiseau was not a very competent writer, and he thought to himself, conflict, how can I put conflict in my film? That's not what he sounds like, I can't think what he actually... How can I put conflict in my film? Oh, I know.
That was actually quite good, Michael.
I'll make it so she has breast cancer. And
It sounds so whiny at the end there.
and obviously it doesn't affect... Now, obviously, The Room is a unique film, and generally speaking, we would not expect to see films where those types of things literally don't affect the plot at all. So when I say something is, I definitely have breast cancer-y, what I mean is that it's kind of moving towards that position of something where you almost feel like the writers are just like, gotta have some conflict, and it almost resolves itself or doesn't even get addressed at all. And there's a lot of things like that in this film, like the whole he sleeps with women and then his girlfriend's annoyed, but then she literally never brings it up again. His dad changes on a dime. His friend is like, get away, don't tell me how to live my life. I'm going to party every day. And then literally the next scene is like, so I've decided I'm not going to party every day. What should I say? So I've decided I'm not going to party every day, mate. Fish and chips, governor. And that's ultimately not good. The one thing I liked about this film is, when it was kind of like happy and, look, he's achieving his goals, I was behind it. But the thing is, that's not necessarily that much of a positive, because there's lots of films that you can watch and go, oh yeah, he's achieving his goals. So if I'm thinking about where to place this, I actually think I'm quite comfortable placing it here. Better than Mamma Mia. Worse than Dunkirk. Because of course, that just makes sense. And I think, and I'm glad that I coined that term, because I think it's a very useful term that everyone should use from now on.
Yeah, you are right. Obviously, this movie, that's the thing, like, with...
Oh, actually, sorry, I wanted to say one more thing. I just want to say, like, kind of, they could have made this film so much better if they would have just, like, streamlined it a bit more. So, one of the things they could have done, for example, is had him be really good at football, but maybe have, like, personal problems, and just have the film solely focus on his personal problems. The problem is, literally everything's bad at once, and it makes it make no sense, because it's kind of like, well, why is he even getting so, so just that final thing. But yeah, I'll let you say that.
So, there's a lot of ups and downs, as you've said, and these ups and downs are all different, and it's just kind of like, well, everything's going wrong then, like, one thing's fixed and the next thing goes wrong. So that is bad, and it is definitely, I do like that phrase, I have breast cancer. What was it called?
Yeah, I definitely have breast cancer-y.
I definitely have breast cancer. Okay. Yeah, so you are correct on that. I just want to say from a personal perspective that when I was watching this film, or was about to watch this film, I was thinking, okay, I bet this is going to be really bad. I bet this doesn't hold up, or not necessarily hold up, but I think this is awful. And and I'm going to think, how the hell did I like that as a child? Because obviously when you're a kid, you don't know what's good and what's bad. I like football, so I like this movie because it's about football. That was it. But watching it, I was surprised at actually how decent it was, I have to say. And maybe that's affected the fact that I liked it, because I said that at the start. But I was like, you know what, this is okay. I was thinking during while watching the movie, this could have been a lot worse. That's what I wrote down. Like, this could have been bad. I'm actually surprised it wasn't as bad as it was, because many of these movies, like, it's just awful. But this wasn't the case. So, with that in mind, although there are some issues with the football scenes and all the melodrama, and some of the characters just doing things because plot tells them to do these things, or the script tells them to do these things, and all the issues that come with that, and the missing scenes which we've talked about, I still liked it, and I still think it's good, particularly the middle part of the movie, not necessarily the end. And actually, no, the beginning was good. I like the beginning as well. So, all in all, Michael, I think it was good. It wasn't great. It was just good. And maybe this is because of nostalgia, although I don't think so. Maybe it's because I expected less. But I think I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10.
Okay, that's reasonable. I was worried you
Yeah.
were going to say like 7 or something stupid, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to have it in 10. Yeah, 6 is fine. I guess
Yeah.
I'd probably say it was more of a 5, but
Yeah.
it's much of a muchness.
It's got 44% on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's why I was so nervous about watching it, because it's like, oh god, this is going to be bad, and
Yeah,
can't believe
I'm
I
wondering
spent
how this film does compare
how
to,
much
for
is-
example, Bend It Like Beckham. Because all I think about Bend It Like Beckham is for Keira Knightley.
yeah,
That's all I
that's,
think.
that's the major talking point of Bend It Like Beckham. Bend It Like Beckham came out in 2001 or 2002, so in like 3 or 4 years' time we can review it. It'll be 20 years, because there's no point in reviewing it once it's been 18 years out. So
Well,
it's stupid.
maybe there will continue to never be films released at the start of the season, in which case we can just always review a football film at the start of the season until we run out of football films.
Yeah, next year we can do Goal 2, and then after that we can do Goal 3.
I think we're going to need a break from the old goal.
We got a year's break, Michael.
Listen to this, Luke. This is actually interesting. Guess what Bend It Like Beckham got on Rotten Tomatoes?
89%.
Oh, you're close enough. Annoyingly, you guessed over 85%. So that's pretty good. I mean,
Oh yeah, because it's not really about football. I imagine it's about like empowerment and stuff.
do you know
Football's just the
it's got
vessel.
lesbianism in it?
No, I did not.
Actually, I forget if it actually is a lesbian. Oh yeah, it is.
Keira Knightley.
Yeah, so I think Keira Knightley is lesbian with an Indian girl, and her parents, who are Indian, are like really don't approve, and that's kind of the background plot, if I remember correctly.
Michael, maybe we'll have to review this movie after all.
Yeah, because it's all about being a lesbian.
Yeah, no, because of the family not approving and the journey that the kid has to make.
Yeah,
that's why.
good.
No, nothing
Right.
to do with the lesbian kiss of Keira Knightley.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's Bend It Like Beckham. We've been reviewing Goal, probably the second best football movie ever. If Bend It Like Beckham's rated that highly. Actually, I mean United and the Damned United. These movies aren't really football movies. They're more like biographical movies in the case of Damned United, or like historical.
You could say
movies.
the second best football film not based on a true story.
Yeah, because I can't think of any others. So
What about the
yeah.
one I told you about, where a kid gets magical boots that make him really good at football?
that's the thing. I can't believe I haven't heard of that, because that's the kind of movie I would have watched as a kid. So it must be really, really shit.
I'll look it up. Okay.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I'll just say.
Okay, it's called.
have you got it?
There's only one Jimmy Grimble. Jimmy Grimble is a shy Manchester schoolboy. At school, he is constantly being bullied by the other kids, and at home, he has to face his mother's new boyfriend, who he doesn't like. However, it should be whom he doesn't like. However, through football and some special boots, he manages to gain the confidence to succeed and leads his school football team towards the final of the local school's cup.
God,
What a great film.
sounds just genuinely awful. The name, like
There's
if
only one Jimmy Grimble.
You should get bullied if your name's Jimmy Grimble. You should be. Like,
Yeah,
it's not the
you're
kids' fault. Let's punish the parents. So yeah, that is our review of Goal. We will not be reviewing Jimmy Grimble, unfortunately.
Oh, it got
Well,
95% on Rotten Tomatoes. No, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
fuck off. Are you kidding? Yeah.
No, I didn't really.
What did it get?
I actually didn't look it up. I just made a joke. Do you want to know I wonder what it did get, actually. Okay, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, I keep trying to end this. And you
No,
keep
okay, yeah.
putting in with all
End
this
it, end it,
Jimmy
Luke.
Grimble BS.
Doesn't matter. End it, Luke.
Okay. So thank you for listening to Select and Reflect. This week we've been selecting and reflecting on Goal! Join us next week when we will be doing 8 Mile, I believe. I think that's correct.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. Because of the movie 22
I like
Mile.
the bit where they fuck in the factory.
Ah,